Okay, so now we're going to create the internal section of each article. So I'm going to go back to home, and first we need to create a route. That's the first thing we need to do. We don't have a route for this. So I'm going to go to routes.js to the root directory and routes.js, and I'm going to be adding a route, just like this. So this route is going to be the internal of this post. The thing is that if you go to the other one, we have this internal, and we have a section that shows all the news, an internal section for all the news that we pretty much have the same widget than before. So we're going to be doing this. We can have this. So instead of creating a separate route just for the internal and then a separate route for the all the news, we're going to create one special place, one folder, one directory that is going to be host everything related to articles. And if we think about this, videos are articles as well, so they're going to be inside the same directory. Okay, so I'm going to go back right here, and I'm going to create a route. It's going to say route that is going to have a path, and this one is kind of important. Whenever we click on an article, it's going to take us to a section that is going to be called articles, just like this. And this is just for news. Now each article has an ID, so we need to tell React Router to listen for that ID. And of course it's going to be exact, and then what we need to do is to make a reference to the component that we want to render in this case. So I'm going to close it, and the component for this one, I'm going to call it news article. Makes sense. We don't have this route, we need to create it. So I'm going to go right here at the top, and I'm going to import this. So it's import then news article from, and we don't have it yet, so I'm going to create it right now. So again, if we go to components, we don't have this directory, so I'm going to go to components and create a new folder that is going to be called, how are we going to call it? Articles. Make sense? Articles. Now, like I told you before, this articles have different sections. We have the news and we have the videos. So I'm going to create a route for news, and this news has two main views, the all the news views and the article view. So I'm going to create a new folder that is going to be, and how are we going to call it? We're going to call it posts. Make sense? Yeah, let's call it posts. Post, singular. Okay. So this post is going to have a main view. So I'm going to call it index.js. Index.js. There we go. So this index.js is going to be taking the URL, it's going to be reading the URL and fetching all the information about that post. So this index is going to be a class-based component because we need to have a state, and of course we need to fetch the data and everything else, just like we did before. So we need to import React and then components, and then from React, and then we're going to make a network request. So we need to include Axios from Axios. What else? What else are we going to need? We're going to need the URL because we're going to make a network request. So we're going to say URL, and it's from, and then dot 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 forward slash dot dot forward slash dot dot forward slash again dot dot forward slash and config. There we go. We're going to do some styling right here. So we need to create a style sheet. First, I'm going to import it. It's going to be called styles, and then from. And now the thing is that we're going to be using a style sheet for all the posts, the news, and then the videos. So I'm going to store this these CSS inside articles. We're going to use one for all. So it's going to be articles.css. Again, this is something that, you could do something different right here. You can have a CSS for each section. It's completely up to you. It's dot dot forward slash dot dot forward slash, and it's going to be called articles. I'm not seeing it. 1 second. Okay. So I believe it's that way. Articles.css. So we are inside one directory app and one directory app. Yeah, should be there. Articles.css. Very good. Okay. So now I'm going to create the class. So it's going to be class and then news articles and extends, and then components. I'm going to open and close, and I'm going to be rendering something. Render, open and close. And then, of course, we need to do the return. And the return for now, it's going to be a div with article view, whatever. And then, of course, export default. And then what else? Export default and the name of the class. Very good. Again, delete this. We don't need it. Okay. So right here, we are not importing anything. So I'm going to go back to routes, and I'm going to import that news article. It's going to be from, and the article is going to be, a lot of directories up. So it's news article. It's going to /, and then components / articles / news / and let me make this bigger. Let me see if we can see it. No, we cannot see it. It's going to be posts / and then index. There we go. Okay, so at least we are not getting any errors. That's good. So I'm going to click inside and we get article view. So, okay, that's good. That's working. So this article view is going to do a few things. It's going to be fetching the information that we need, and it's going to store everything inside a state. So I'm going to create a state. It's going to be equal to something else, and then article, and it's going to be an empty array. Now again, just like before, we're going to need the list of teams. So I'm going to do comma, I'm going to say teams. I'm going to say team. And something else is going to happen. The teams, we don't actually need the list of teams because each article knows which team we need to load. It says the ID of the article. And now with JSON server, what we can do, we can make a network request for that particular team. And right now, inside this view, we're going to be only loading one team. In the other one, we are loading different teams. That's why we do one network request and then we run a function to search the whole list. But right now, there's no need to do that. We just fetch the data of that particular team. So in this case, it's going to be Cavaliers. Okay, so that's fine. Don't worry, you're going to get it in a minute. So now what we need to do, we need to do the component will mount, and we need to do that network request. So first, we're going to be fetching the actual article. So I'm going to say Axios, just like that, then .get. And again, we need the URL. So we're going to be passing the URL, and we need to make a request to articles. Now, the information that we need to fetch, we need to bring, is going to be the data of this particular article. We have articles and the ID of number 4. So with JSON server, we can do that. So what we need to do is question mark, then ID, and we need to pass the ID of the article. We need to grab it from the URL. And if you remember, with React Router, we have access to this. And all of this information is inside this, .props, .match, .params, .id. We've already did this before. Okay, so this is going to go and fetch the information about this particular article. Then, of course, we need to resolve this. So it's going to be then, and it's going to be response, and then it's going to be equal, and we will update the state, but not just yet. I'm just going to console log the response.data, just to make sure that we are getting the information about this article. So I'm going to go right here, and we get it. This is the article information. Good. Okay, that's very good. I'm going to delete this. And now the thing is that if we go to the original one, right here, for example, we are fetching the information about the team. So we need to get the team data. So what we can do, we can store this response.data as article, whatever, and it's going to be response.data and data, and I'm going to get the first position, and I'm going to store this the data of the article, the information about the article, inside this variable. And now what I can do, I can chain this. I'm going to say get, and I'm going to run another network request. So whenever this is done, it's going to store it here. And then whenever this is done, we're going to update the state, but only when after we get the information about the team. So, okay, so I'm going to say URL, and then it's going to be teams. And again, we need the ID. I'm going to say ID equals to, and if you remember, inside the article, we have the team ID. So I'm going to make a reference to that article, dot, and then bring the team ID. This is going to go and fetch the data of that team. So I'm going to say then, open and close. And of course, just like before, response is going to do something, and then we update the state. Okay. So I'm going to say this dot set state, open and close, and we're going to be updating the article with article. So we can do it like this. There's no need to do article because we are using ES6. Okay. And then we need the team. So I'm going to say team equals response.data. Okay. So in theory, we should be getting all the information that we need. So I'm going to go right here. I'm just going to do console log and then this dot state. Going to go right here. And we have right here the article and all the information, and then we have the team and all the information of that team. In this case, it's Cavaliers, and we have only one result. So we are fetching the information just fine. That's good. So now what I'm going to do, just for the sake of simplicity, what we need to do, we need to pass whatever we want to do so we can render the header and the body. And we have two parts right here, the header and the body. This one is going to be using news articles, this body right here. But this header is going to be included as well inside videos. So again, we could do a reusable component again. Okay, so first I'm going to go right here and delete the article view, and I'm going to delete this. And I'm going to do something. I'm going to say const, and then article is going to be equal to this.state.article. Good. And right here, I'm going to say const team equals this.state.team. So what am I doing? The thing is that I'm making a reference of this variable to the this.state.article. Right now, we're going to be doing some things. We're going to be creating components, and we need to pass all this data as props. And doing this, it's like making a little bit shorter. If I want to pass a prop, I will have to do this.state.article, maybe .team.id. But if I do this, I can do this, just article team ID, and that's it. It's still going to work. So it's making a reference to this state article, and it's storing it inside this variable. Okay, so I'm going to delete this, and this is going to be we're going to return kind of a container. So I'm going to give it a class name of styles.article, yeah, and then wrapper, whatever. Okay, so now if we check the original one, the final one, we have a header right here, and we have a kind of a body. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create two different components, one called header and the other one called body. I'm going to say header, just like that. And for now, I'm going to close it, and I'm going to do the same thing with body. So again, we don't have this just yet. We need to create it. So I'm going to delete the body because, we're going to get an error. So we're going to have a header, and we're going to create a component for the posts and the header. Okay, so I'm going to go to posts, and I'm going to create a new file that is going to be called header.js. So header.js is going to be just a stateless component. So we're going to say import React from, let me make it right, React from, and then React. Good. And I'm going to create a const header then equal to props, because we are going to be receiving props. And then I'm going to just return a div just to make sure that everything is working. Div, header. Okay. So we need to export, then default, and we export the header. Now we need to include it inside the index. So I'm going to go right here at the top and I'm going to include that header so we can use it. So it's going to be import, then header from, and then dot / and header. And if we check it, we get header. We're going to do the same thing with the body. Just going to kind of save time because we are almost done with this video. It's going to be body, and we're going to have a different component that is going to be rendering just the body. So it's body.js. And I'm going to go to header, copy all just to save time, and paste it inside body. And this one is going to be called body. And I'm going to change the export default and then say body. Good. So, of course, we need to make a reference. We need to include it to import it. So it's going to be import, then body from dot / and body. Good. So now we get a component for the header and the body. So we can treat the different components. Okay. So this header is going to need several things. So we need to pass some props because this header is going to be outputting the information about the team and the information about the date and author. So what are we going to do? We're going to pass props. So first it's going to be the team. So I'm going to pass a prop that is going to be called team data, and it's going to be equal to whatever information we have inside team. And if we take a look, I removed it. This team, it's going to be inside an array of objects. So I'm going to pass the team and I'm going to pass the 0. Okay. What else? We have a date inside the header. We have a date. So I'm going to say date is going to be equal to, and the date is going to be inside the article dot date. What else? We have author, and the author is going to be inside article dot author. Okay. Now I'm doing this because I like to split things up. What you can do is just pass maybe the props or the state or whatever. Doesn't matter. Okay, so this header is going to receive team data, date, and author. So now inside header, if we go to the final one, we have two different components. One for the teams and a different one for the author and the date. So what we can do right here is to create two different components to display that. And why would we do that? Why are we going to be doing that? It's because if we go to videos, the videos post, oh, there we go. If we go to the videos post, let me just reload the page. Right here, we've also get the team information. It's the same component. So what we're going to do, we're going to create a component that gets this data that we are passing right here and renders this information. And it's going to work for different components as well, for videos and teams. So again, we need to create a reusable component. Okay, that's good. Let's go to the next section and create the header and the author component.